Putin Bad News. In the midst of Ukraine's counteroffensive, Putin concedes some failures. While Kyiv's forces pressed a counteroffensive supported by a new infusion of Allied support, President Putin of Russia admitted that Russian forces fighting in Ukraine lack sufficient advanced weapons despite tripling of arms output. Popular articles on Bloomberg. Elizabeth Holmes is against paying victims $250 per month once she is released from prison. Bankruptcy filing by Instant Brands, maker of Instant Pot and Pyrex. The Federal Reserve can pause rate hikes because U.S. inflation is slowing. Russia's isolation is on full display at Putin's Economic Forum. ARM seeks Intel as founding investor for IPO. In a televised meeting with local reporters and war bloggers, Putin made the rare admission of production shortcomings. For the first time, the Kremlin has admitted to such a large scale of losses, saying that Russia has lost 54 tanks since Ukraine's drive began last week. A lack of high-precision ammunition, communications, and drones became apparent, Putin said. We have quality, but not enough, he said. Kyiv hopes that this campaign will force Russian forces to withdraw from territory they have occupied since their invasion in February 2022. Putin claimed Russian forces inflicted catastrophic losses on Ukraine's military, and so far Ukraine has reported taking only a few villages as it probes the extensive defensive lines that Moscow's troops have built. Western officials were quick to portray the Ukrainian push as far more successful than it actually was, and Moscow has a history of being accused of embellishing its military successes. The counteroffensive is making advances, NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said Tuesday in Washington. Similarly, the United States announced that it would be providing an additional $325 million in weapons to support the campaign. Ukraine will be able to replace vehicles and munitions lost in the counteroffensive thanks to the weapons stolen from U.S. stockpiles. Artillery shells of 155 mm and 105 mm caliber, tow missiles, surface-to-air missile system ammunition, and communications equipment are all examples. U.S. declares Stinger and Bradley fighter jets worth $325 million for Ukraine. This is still early days, but what we all know is the more land the Ukrainians are able to liberate, the stronger their hand at the negotiation table and the more likely it is that President Putin will understand that he will never win this battle, never win the war of aggression on the battlefield, Stoltenberg said. Ahead of an upcoming meeting of the alliance's leaders in Vilnius, Lithuania, the alliance chief also met with President Joe Biden, who said the bloc faces a crucial moment. Specifically, we've strengthened NATO's eastern flank, made it clear we'll defend every inch of NATO territory, Biden said. We'll be building on that momentum at our summit in Lithuania next month. Grain trade. Putin, who on Tuesday reiterated his claim that Ukraine's counteroffensive hasn't been successful, showed little sign he was prepared to negotiate and vowed to achieve his goals. He blasted Kyiv's supporters for arming the government. And Putin said Russia is considering leaving the deal that allows Ukraine to ship grain exports from Black Sea ports, which will cause concern among countries that import food from Ukraine. Putin explained that Russia had approved the accord, to support developing countries, our friends, and to achieve the lifting of sanctions from our agricultural sector. Again, we have been fooled. We are now considering our options for escaping this grain deal. The agreement, which was negotiated by the UN and Turkey last year and extended for 2 months in mid-May, has been threatened by Russia on multiple occasions. Ukraine has accused Russia of dragging its feet on checks and blocking ships bound for one of the 3 ports in the deal, which has disrupted traffic to Ukraine's ports despite Russia's participation. New Russian missile strikes on Ukraine have reportedly killed 11 people in a residential building in Kryvyi Rih, prompting comments from Russia's leader. Putin tried to project an air of self-assurance by claiming that the 156,000 contract soldiers and volunteer fighters who have signed up to fight this year are sufficient. An estimated 300,000 Russians left their country last year after a mandatory call to military service. Putin said that any future mobilization plans would be determined by what goals we set for ourselves. There is still a lot we need, Putin said, despite the fact that many defense factories were working around the clock to produce more weapons. To paraphrase, we need modern anti-tank weapons, we need modern tanks. Top stories from Businessweek at Bloomberg. The once unstoppable tech job market is shifting due to layoffs and artificial intelligence. Boeing should benefit from China's aircraft shortage. The head of Google promises to take his time with AI development, claims that continues. The unexpected departure of Illumina's CEO is just one of many challenges facing the DNA research firm. The U.S. struggle to develop electric vehicle batteries.